Hey, Wrangler 4xe fans. I'm driving along on a country road here, and I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what Max Regen is and what Max Regen isn't. If you are new to the Wrangler 4xe, or maybe you've had it for a little while and just don't understand what it is, I'm hoping this video can explain what it is and what it isn't. So I'm driving along about 55 miles an hour, and if I let off the accelerator pedal, you can see that the percent gauge over on the right side just goes to 0, and my percent of power there on the left, it dips a little bit. There's a little bit of regen on. Now, if I put on the brakes, this is the brake pedal, you can see that I start to charge and down on the right-hand side, and I get a little percent of power over there on the left-hand side. And I'm going to explain why that is here in a little bit, since I didn't have Max Regen on, why that happened. If you are new to this vehicle, you may not realize that it has what's called a blended braking system in it. And if you aren't familiar with that, down here in the transmission somewhere, there is an electric motor that sits behind the gas engine. So the gas engine connects through a clutch. This is an oversimplified explanation, by the way, but the gas engine connects through a clutch to the electric motor, which then connects through another clutch to the rest of the transmission. I'm operating in electric mode, as you can see, so my gas engine is not running. So right now, the clutch between the gas engine and the electric motor is open, and therefore all my power is coming from the electric motor. And it is a motor generator, by the way. And the reason why we call it a motor generator is because it can quickly switch from being a motor to a generator. And that's what happens when we have Max Regen turned on. Since I'm slowing down up here, I'm going to push Max Regen on, and you can see the vehicle immediately starts slowing down, and I'm getting some charge indication on both of the gauges. You can see how I'm like, and now it's not adding a lot of power, but it is recapturing a little bit of energy. But as I already showed with the blended braking system, which I'm putting on right now with Max Regen off, I still get that little bit of power. So here's how this kind of works. And again, this is an oversimplified explanation. The P2 motor generator that is in the engine, and if you don't know about the Wrangler 4xe, out under the hood on the front end of the gas engine is what's called the P1 motor generator. And inside the transmission is the P2 motor generator. So when I let off my foot off the accelerator and I have Max Regen turned on, or when I put on my brake pedal, what's happening is I have to explain this too. Those motor generators are 3-phase AC motor generators. And if you don't understand how 3-phase motors work, that's okay, totally fine. But you have 3 legs of power going into the motor generator, right? So what happens when you put on the brake or you let off the accelerator pedal while you have Max Regen turned on, the 3 phases, 2 of them get flopped over and they go the other direction. And the best explanation I can think of to explain how that works is if you have a ceiling fan and you turn it on and you flip that little switch that's on the ceiling fan that changes the direction. That's kind of what happens when you put on the brakes or turn on Max Regen in the Wrangler 4xe, is you're changing that direction that the little electrical force is applying inside the generator. Once you change those phases, it reverses the direction that the motor's wanting to turn in. It's actually putting resistance against driving forward. Now, of course, it doesn't put full power, or else the darn thing would just snap itself off and flip it into reverse. But it does create a resistance in there. Now, Max Regen also does something else really cool that you need to understand about it, in that it changes how the accelerator pedal, I don't know if I can show you, the accelerator pedal down there, it remaps a little bit of the top end of the accelerator pedal. And I'm going to try to demonstrate how that works here on a hill that I've got coming up here. I've got some rolling hills up here, and there is a car behind me, so I don't know if I'll be able to do this really well. But I just turned Max Regen on, and I'm going to let off just a little bit. I'm not lifting my foot completely, as you can see I did there, but when I get up on this hill, now I'm accelerating here, give me a second here, I got to get on the hill that I'm trying to demonstrate this on. you can actually vary the amount of regen that you derive from that motor. So I'm going to do it right now. We're just on a flat little stretch here. I just let my foot off just a little bit, and you see how I can get it just a little bit below zero, but not a lot. I'm not applying full max regen, full regenerative force there. Whereas if I just flip my foot off of it, you can see it runs all the way down and really slows down the vehicle. Now, how that can come into play, I've got this big hill up here that I'm going to climb. And what I'm going to try to demonstrate here, if you can see everything, is how I can slow down the vehicle but not completely put all the deceleration in the vehicle all at the same time, and just slow down the vehicle enough that I want it to, but not so much that it's applying the full regenerative force. See, I've got my foot pulled back just a little bit, but I'm not off all the way. There will go off all the way, but I'm going to put just a little bit more pressure on there and speed up the vehicle and not have as much regen coming in. So what some people have posted in the 4xe fans group is that coasting is more energy efficient than slowing down and speeding back up again. And that is true if you are not using the remapped portion of that accelerator pedal. If you just let your foot off the gas pedal and slow down a lot and then have to speed back up, you're kind of wasting energy there. But if you find yourself in a situation where all you need to do is slow down just a little and not come to a, like you're coming to a stop or anything, just like if you were driving along and somebody was pulling in their driveway, you might back off a little bit, but you don't want to back off all the way and then have to speed back up because you've just wasted energy. The other thing to know about Max Regen, and I think I've already touched on this, is that it's only coming into play when you're decelerating and when you're using, kind of feathering that accelerator pedal in the top range. While you're driving down the road, if this needle is above the zero mark, Max Regen is not doing anything at this point. It is only doing something when it has the ability to flip those phases like I was talking about. It only has the ability to come into play when that process is going on, that you're actually decelerating in the vehicle. It's not operating all the time. Now that I'm kind of just maintaining my speed here, I can turn this thing on and off, and it does nothing to change my energy consumption or grabbing back. It's not adding power back into the vehicle. One of the questions that gets asked often about electrified platforms is, why don't we just hook an alternator to the vehicle and capture energy as we're driving forward? Well, that's actually how this vehicle is designed, sort of. That P2 motor that's in here and the P1 motor that's out on the front of the engine can operate in that way. The problem is, when you get into the laws of thermodynamics and physics and all that kind of stuff, you will actually end up fighting to move the vehicle forward if you had a generator on here of some sort, because that same force that we felt when we let our foot off the pedal and we had Max Regen on, we would be fighting that force all the time, which, of course, now that we know all that is coming from one motor, you can't operate a single motor in two different directions at the same time. You can't charge and discharge all at the same time. You can't provide propulsion and recapture energy at the same time. It's either one or the other. It's kind of a digital state. It's either on or off, so to speak. So I just wanted to share all that to try to clear up. I just see a lot of questions about Max Regen and all that kind of stuff, and also share about the regenerative braking that you do with the foot pedal. The brake pedal is like a fly-by-wire kind of, or a brake-by-wire kind of thing. You're not actually firing the friction brakes when you push the brake pedal unless you push it really hard. Now, once you brake beyond the deceleration ability of the P2 motor, once the vehicle says, hey, you're wanting to brake harder than what I can do with this, then it'll bring the friction brakes into play. Under normal stopping, however, if you were pulling up to a stop sign and slowing down, you're slowing down using the P2 motor, and the friction brakes, it blends over to the friction brakes just in the last few feet of the stop, just to bring the vehicle to a complete stop. So the big advantage of the Max Regen and the remapping of the accelerator pedal is it gives you something really close to one pedal driving. It's not quite because it doesn't bring the vehicle to a complete stop. But once you learn to feather it and use that remapped section of the gas pedal, which it's not much. I mean, I swear it only feels like it's an inch. But once you learn to kind of retrain your foot to take advantage of that remapping, you can almost get to the point of one pedal driving. My drive to work, I drive kind of like almost country roads and then into the city. And most of the way there, I can kind of anticipate when the lights are going to change. I can look at different things and say, I can almost get about 3/4 of my drive to work without ever touching the brake pedal as long as I catch the lights right. And that's all from just using that feathering. Now here's a good example on this hill, how we can, you can see the Max Regen kicking in there. Now if I reach over and turn it off, you'll see those needles return to zero, or almost zero. It still does a little bit of regen. We would have to put the vehicle in neutral to see it truly go all the way down. So just wanted to explain all that. Hope that helps in some way. I hope some people can kind of understand what's going on. And thanks for watching this rather lengthy video. Take care.